Writing research is one of the things you can do to help you build characters, story world, and also help you enrich your story. But how and where do you start your writing research? In today's video, I'm going to share with you 5 basic ways of how I do my writing research. Hi guys, my name is Nani. I'm a writer-director based in Los Angeles, and then this channel is where I share how I write and how I nourish my creativity. If you like this type of content, remember to subscribe. And then now let's get into the video. So, writing research. It's probably one of my favorite things to do in the entire writing process, because a lot of time when you have an idea in your mind, it's just a simple concept. It's not rich and full enough yet. Writing process allows you to discover a lot of new things that you never thought about, and then connecting the dots into the story to create a world that's rich and believable, and allow your story idea and the character flow through this world that you build. I summarized a little bit in general how I do my writing research so I can share with you. So the 5th way will be the most interesting one. Be sure you stay until the end of the video. So number 1 is in general website research. I don't think we said this enough, but we are so privileged as writers nowadays that a lot of resources are just at the tip of our finger. We can just go ahead typing into the Google search bar to find the answer we need on different kind of topic. There are so many different ways we can do web research. I think the most fundamental one is probably utilize blog post. A lot of time I go to search certain topic that's related to my story, or certain kind of occupations, cities, or type of historical events, things like that. I can just type into the Google search bar, and then there are a lot of blog posts that people discuss about those topics, and then you can find a lot of knowledge there. Another thing I really like to use is Reddit. Sometimes I can't quite find a specific answer to certain things I'm looking for, and I will just ask people's experience or what people know on the Reddit. I would ask even things of other people's experience. For example, I'm writing a story that partially in San Francisco, so I would search things about San Francisco, things to do, and then I physically went to San Francisco to check it out of different locations. What you can also do is to go on Reddit, for example, searching what is like growing up in San Francisco, what is high school like in this area of San Francisco, things like that, and then people will answer your question. There are a lot of people that enthusiastically want to discuss this kind of topic and share their experience with you. And another thing I like to use is Google Map. I'm not only using Google Map to understand the geographic of a city, but you can literally ping to specific location, and there will be street views, and then you can looking at those street views of your choice, and then they somehow inspire you to help you build a story world based on your story. That looking at those views, it can spark some inspiration that help you come up with very interesting plot for the story. I think looking at the street view to imagine someone's life there is one of the most interesting things to do. Another thing, it's probably one of my favorite in terms of searching online, is to use the website of Library of Congress. There are so many resources there. There's a search bar on the top of the website, and then if you type into keywords, and then the computer will automatically help you search all the documents in the storage that's available towards the public online. You can even find a very old newspaper scanning of describing certain events and what people say about it, what's the news article about it. You can also find the books relating to the topic that you're searching, and also pictures and the artworks relating to the topic that you're searching. As long as it's available towards the public, you can access them. Sometimes I would just went down to a rabbit hole of looking at those things. Sometimes I might get off the track on a certain topic. It's just mesmerizing to read and looking at those stuff full of history, full of story, and then they are very inspiring. Second thing I like to do is to do a video research or social media research in general. The number one platform I like to use is, of course, here on YouTube. There are so many knowledge here. So there are different type of research. I sometimes research topics that relate to the story that I'm working on, from the psychology of the character to maybe a societal problem relate to the story. Again, you can also search about a city, a place, or a kind of occupation, things like that on YouTube, and then see what it looks like. Honestly, there's nothing more convenient than that. But I find that the most interesting to me is those family videos on YouTube. I'm not talking about videos that people made to gain attractions, to build a YouTube channel, things like that. But in the past, when YouTube just started, the purpose is only for people to posting video and then share this video conveniently with their family and friends. There are people's wedding video, birthday video, video people filmed in high school, things like that. But there are a lot of things that are just normal, seemingly boring, day-to-day life stuff, and then when I go into watching those videos that's relate to the character or the world that I'm building, or maybe similar to the word that I'm looking for, it can really spark so many inspiration for me that give me idea about certain plot or certain actions the character is taking, but also give me idea of what it's like living in certain environment. Sometimes I feel like I'm like a stalker, stalking people's personal life and watching their entire video library on their channel. And those channels normally are very small channels, but if you really dig into it, you can find them. And I assure you, you can find so many interesting things to help you build up your story. So the third way of doing research is to do book research. And then book research require you to spend much more time and patience, and you need to go to find books that relate to your story. Maybe it's related to the psychology of the character, or certain type of historical events, or a societal environment or societal problems that you are interested in discuss in your story. Reading those books is probably the most comprehensive way of doing research. It can really help you build up a very strong knowledge base of whatever the topic you want to talk about. In that way, you can utilize those knowledge to apply into your story in a very natural way, and in a way that have a consistency across the entire story, and that's very important. You might feel doing book research, reading non-fiction books related to the story that you're working on might take too long period of time to do, and it might be a waste. But honestly, most of the time, at least for me, I tend to feel that I get a chance to get more in depth about certain topic, and then when I really use and apply those topic into the story, it comes much natural to me because I feel like I already absorbed a lot of information. And then the fourth way of doing research is to talk to people, to interview people. And I think that's one of the things that feels a little bit intimidating, but once you have that curiosity, you'd be amazed at how many people want to help you. You can start as simple as asking your friends of their opinion about things, or if you know a friends have certain occupation or life experience, that you can ask them about it. For example, I have colleagues that's growing up in like a different racial culture, and then that's related to my story, and then I just ask them about how they feel and their experience, and they're pretty happy to share with me. As well as I have friends that growing up in San Francisco. Her husband is growing up in a very different area of the San Francisco, so they have a very different experience of what it's like being in high school as an Asian in San Francisco. Only through asking them, they can share those details with me and help me to have more understanding of it. Those are not the things that I really can find or running into online unless I already know what I'm looking for. After you talk to someone, it might come up with a list of very interesting things, and then you can pick what you think it might can help with your story, and then go back in to do web research, browsing and blog and stuff, and also do video research and social media research, and then also do a more comprehensive book reading research on those topics to have a in-depth learning. I think a research process is to discover some topic that's very interesting that you might want to apply to the story, and then go in-depth to understanding it. And then you might, through that process, find more different topics and then go in-depth to those topics, and then just this back and forth of discovering and understanding, discovering and understanding, that can help you build this whole system of knowledge that's related to your story that you can use easily while you're writing your story. So last but not least, it's probably one of my favorite things to do now, and it's one of my new discovery that I learned from Handmaid's Tale's writer Margaret Atwood. She had talked about this in her master class, that if the story that she worked on is across a period of time, she liked to listing out the historical events and see how those events interact with her story world. That can make the story richer and more believable. The historical events can shape the characters as well. So what I like to do is to go in there to listing out from the character born till my story and all the historical events, and then see how they might shape the ideology of my character, or they might shape the world that I'm creating. In that way, I can use this timeline to interact with my story to make it more real. One thing I feel very interesting is when I go to read in depth of those historical events that's cross the lifespan of my character and the story. I find there are a lot of times some of the events or certain detail in the events have some crossover in terms of theme with my story. Somehow I can utilize that in the story a little bit to enhance the world that I'm building, even if it's just a little poster on the wall in the character's room. Things like that, it's very interesting, and it makes your story much more believable. You're echoing the theme, so everything's kind of become cohesive and pointing the same direction. In the near future, I will talk more about how I build my character in the real world and make them believable. In that video, I will discuss a little bit more about this historical timeline research thing, and then go a little bit in depth in terms of character building. And if you do like this kind of video, please remember to subscribe to this channel, and then give me a thumbs up. Apparently that's really good for algorithm, so I can share those ideas with more people in the world. And if you enjoyed this video, you can click it right here. I think you might like this one as well. And thank you so much for watching. Be patient, be present, stay creative. I'll see you next week. Bye.